Last night, history and more chalk in the Sweet 16. Florida rolled, Duke survived its biggest test of the tourney and faces three-point fiend Alabama next. And of course, Texas Tech gifting us the most chaotic finish we've seen thus far. And news of the day, a stunning decision by the fifth-place Memphis Grizzlies to fire Coach Taylor Jenkins with 9 games remaining and one of their biggest of the season tomorrow night. Let's go around the horn.
Woody, you're from Memphis. What gives?
Texas Tech and Arkansas providing the first overtime game of the men's tournament. The Red Raiders storming back from a 16-point deficit behind Darian Williams' three-pointer, which tied the game at 9 seconds left in regulation. And then he delivers again in OT. The Razorbacks had a timeout to use on the final possession, but John Calipari let his players play out the game with the Elite Eight on the line. Clinton, are you more bummed out by the way Arkansas lost this game or impressed by Tech's rally to win it?
I'm really bummed out by the way Arkansas lost it, and I feel so bad for John L. Davis. I mean, you get a board, and you're down there, and all of a sudden you get a tie-up when you could have had stronger hands. Next thing you know, the possession changes, and you try to come off a curl, and your guy hits a three. So this went from being up 6 with a minute plus to being closer than it needed to be, down late, and you were up, 13, 14 with 6 minutes to go. I mean, I feel terrible for that kid. He was part of that team that was on that Florida Atlantic squad that made that deep run as a mid-major that we all fell in love with, just gave his heart to the game in terms of the NCAA. And overall, this Arkansas season, I've been yelling and screaming about him for 2 weeks. Calipari managed to get them back on track in this season after a bunch of injuries. Texas Tech got back. They did what they had to do. But this Razorbacks team really had one, and they let it slip away. It's going to crush them for a long time.
It was the most exciting game we've seen of the tournament thus far, the only one that's gone into overtime on a late night of college hoops. Kevin Clark, more impressed with Texas Tech or bummed out by Arkansas?
Yeah, John Calipari, I'm not angry, I'm just disappointed. If there's any media bias, it's towards great characters staying relevant. I wanted John Calipari to make the weekend tier. This was going to be a really good story. They're a different team than the team that lost to Florida in January at the beginning of conference play with the SEC. I'm sad we don't get to see that matchup, especially with the Gators having 6 players in double figures last night, looking really good, cutting down on their turnovers. They look unbeatable. I'm not sure how well Tech matches up with them. But yes, this is a choke job. John Calipari has never blown a lead this big in the tournament. Texas Tech was 0-2 when they were down by 15 or more points this year. This wasn't supposed to happen. This is on Arkansas.
Kevin Blackistone, let's pare down on the timeout gaffe at the end. But John Calipari said it wasn't a gaffe, that 99% of the time he's going to let his guys play it out that way. Should he have called a timeout to at least draw something up a little bit better than that?
I think he should have called a timeout just to stop the bleeding. I mean, what we wound up seeing, what we wound up witnessing was the second largest comeback in Sweet 16 history. I mean, this game was over, but that's why I give credit to Texas Tech. I mean, already they're a team playing shorthanded. They didn't have Chance McMillan, who's a 14-point-per-game scorer, their best shooter on the team that can give them some defense in the backcourt. They were missing some other folks. They had to rely on a starter who went 0 for 9 until the overtime to hit a shot, the kid from DeMatha here in D.C. This was a tremendous comeback. Not only that, they really willed themselves to this. 51 boards they had in that game. So they were really putting it together.
Yeah.
Hats off to Texas Tech.
Texas Tech, 3 20-point scorers on Thursday night. Woody Page, how do you see the outcome of this game? Who are you leaning towards more today?
Well, I'd love to give Texas Tech the credit, but I've got to be a SEC person here and talk about Arkansas and use the word time over and over again. They didn't waste time. After with a 13-point lead, they're allowing jump balls. They're allowing offensive rebounds. They are missing three-pointers that they're taking within 5 seconds of getting the ball. They didn't even try to waste the time. Not only did Calipari have a chance to call timeout before that last play, but he could have stopped the clock when it was failing. He had chances with 3-4 seconds to actually see that Wagner's dumped in the down at the baseboard, and that he could have done something about it. So I think that it was a blown game. I think that another SEC team had a chance to get to the Elite Eight.
Another SEC.
Heartbreaker for Arkansas, but Texas Tech moving on to the Elite Eight. There is our first horn. We move on. A lot of history made by another SEC team last night in Alabama and Duke. In both of their respective Sweet 16 wins, Blue Devils phenom Cooper Flagg putting up stat lines we've never seen before. For Duke starters in double figures as well. For Bama, an NBA Jam, he's on fire sort of situation. 25 made threes, most ever in the tournament. Mark Sears, Aiden Holloway, Chris Youngblood filling it up on Thursday. Between Bama and Duke, Kevin Blackistone, who has impressed you more thus far?
It's got to be the #1 overall seed. It's got to be Duke. I mean, they beat you so many ways. Since Ken Palm's been doing his offensive efficiency thing, they are the #1 team all time, what you're looking at right here. People are starting to speculate whether or not this is, one of the greatest basketball teams we've ever seen. I think it is, certainly probably since the turn of this century. There's nothing that they don't do well, and the best player in the country is on their team, leading everybody else on that best team in all stats that are relevant. So they are the best team, and that is stunning that they've done what they've done. Haven't lost since November.
Woody, I know that you said that you want to be an SEC guy here today, so can I lead you into an Alabama conversation here?
No, I'm going to be an ACC guy right now because KB is absolutely right that Cooper Flagg is the best player in the country. And I'm watching the game last night, and I am comparing him to a guy named the Joker because he was doing it in every category. I mean, talk about points, assists, great passing. He was blocking shots, playing defense. This kid's going to be great in the NBA, and he's already great in college basketball as a freshman. And the thing about it is, if he wasn't able to come back from that injury that happened in the ACC tournament, I think they'd be in real trouble. But because he's there, I think they are the #1 team in the country.
Woody, I'm coming back to you here because you invoked the name Nikola Jokic, and you've seen a lot of basketball. So is it fair to say that Cooper Flagg is the best player in Duke history?
Boy, that's a tough call. But yes, I would say that based on just the one season, and he probably is going to turn pro next year, but one season, I've seen 50 good Duke players in NCAA tournaments, and I think he's the best, maybe surpassing somebody like Grant Hill.
Okay. Kevin Clark, Alabama or Duke, who impressed you more on Thursday?
I had no idea I'd be following two panelists who have this Duke team as the '96 Chicago Bulls. This is hyperbole. This is them playing. You mentioned the efficiency, the Ken Palm, all of this stuff. They were playing in a down ACC. And I just, let's pump the brakes here a little bit. As far as what's going on in this tournament, guys, the more impressive team is Alabama. They broke a record for three-pointers last night, and guess what? Their first two games of the tournament, they led the entire country in points in the paint. They had 50 two-point shots inside the arc before this. So they won a completely different way because Nate Oates, and he talked about his coaching point, he knew the defense was going to collapse. He knew how to play this team. For me, we're talking about the tournament. We're not talking about January. We're not talking about games against Wake Forest. We're talking about right now, and it's Bama.
Yep. Nate Oates said if you like offense, you probably like the outcome of last night's game. He was not lying. Duke Clinton, though, also put up 100 points. You've got these two scoring juggernauts headed to the Elite Eight from the Sweet 16. Who are you more impressed by today, though?
I hate to say it and join the club, but it's got to be Duke. I mean, they put up 100 points. They've done it 5 times this season. They've done it 4 times since Valentine's Day, by the by. And this isn't just Cooper Flagg and the Flaggettes. I mean, Knipple had 20 as well. This is an actual squad here in terms of what they can do. And by the way, KB, they have lost a game. They lost to Clemson last month. So they're not perfect, but for everybody who said they're not going to do jack, well, they're doing a lot. You know what I'm saying? And that's going pretty well for them.
All right. Sweet 16 action going to continue in a couple of hours. Ole Miss, the lowest remaining seed in the men's bracket at 6, taking on 2-seeded Michigan State. We've got an SEC rematch between Kentucky and Tennessee, followed by the 1 seeds, Auburn versus Michigan, and Houston taking on Purdue. Woody, I'm not even sure why I'm asking you it this way, but go ahead. Tell us the game you are most locked in on.
Well, there are a lot of great matches tonight, and I'm somewhat divided here, but I think I might have to lean toward Tennessee versus Kentucky. They have played 241 times since before I was born in 1910, and Kentucky is dominated by winning more than 150 of those, but I think tonight it's going to be very difficult for the Wildcats to beat the Vols a third time in one season. Even though this is the first time they've ever met in the NCAA tournament, and Tennessee lost the earlier two, but they're gelling as a defensive team, and I think Kentucky's going to have a hard time beating
You're
them.
not just leaning that direction. You've gone all the way on the Tennessee pendulum. And you know what, Woody?
What do you
Talk
mean?
your talk. Clinton Yates, the 4 games tonight. Which one are you most looking forward to?
My God, am I going to miss vintage Woody Page, but it's got to be Tennessee for me. I picked them in my bracket to win the whole thing, so otherwise it wouldn't make any sense for me not to pick them. Also, they're playing this game in Lucas Oil, not at where the Pacers play. They're going to have that goofy half-court setup deal like at the old Carrier Dome, so we'll see how this goes. It should be an
That's interesting, playing a Sweet 16 game in a football stadium. We know it's harder to shoot when your depth perception is what it is in a bigger arena. Kevin Blackistone, game you are looking forward to most on Friday night.
I'm with those folks. I want to see a third matchup between Kentucky and Tennessee. I was emailing with the great college football scholar Eric Bain-Selbo the other day, who happened to have gone to Tennessee about another topic, and he just PS'd me to say, oh man, I'm really worried about this game. The worst thing that could happen to a Tennessee fan is to lose to Kentucky yet again. So that's the game I'm watching.
I don't know that we've ever had somebody invoke the name of a scholar as a source here on Around the Horn. So Kevin Blackistone, extra points coming your way. And Woody Page, I think we're going to go ahead and throw the Homer filter in there. I think that one looks good on you in the background. Kevin Clark, round it out for us. Game you are most looking forward to tonight.
I'm not looking at that SEC matchup at all. I like the Big Ten SEC Challenge that's happening in 2 of these games, and I'm zeroing in on Ole Miss against Michigan State. Tom Izzo, 9-0 all-time against the SEC in March. And more than that, Chris Beard on the other side, who has beaten Tom Izzo before when he was at Texas Tech, has the 3rd best March winning percentage of any coach, behind only, by the way, Danny Hurley is obviously number 1, John Calipari being number 2. So that's the matchup I'm looking for. I love coaches this time of year. Give me Izzo in that one.
All right, there you have it. Another big slate of college basketball coming our way tonight. We'll see if the SEC dominance continues on into the Elite Eight, or if we can finally get some of those Big Ten teams in there as well. Hat. Yeah, Woody, I need to get one of these hats. Where'd you get that thing? This is incredible get up. Buy or sell coming up next.
I win.
Woody, I'll email you to get one.
Shocking news out of the NBA today. The Grizzlies firing head coach Taylor Jenkins. Memphis is the 5th seed, essentially tied with the 4 seed Lakers, who they're going to face tomorrow night. And Shams reporting that the team called Jenkins in today and fired him in person. Wow, the story is hard to wrap your head around. He was the winningest coach in franchise history. Clinton, what do you make of this move?
This is absolutely baffling to me. I know things were difficult when Desmond Bane knocked over a teammate during a timeout in the huddle in Utah a couple days ago. You had to think, wow, they got some issues with chemistry, but this team is 2.5 games from the 3 seed. To say we don't want to even try to win with you is wild to me from a franchise like the Grizzlies standpoint. Big time shock.
Woody, this is not a move that typically happens for a team that is headed to the postseason. How do you hear the news coming out of Memphis?
It's not even a typical decision in the history of NBA basketball. The last time it happened this late in the season with a winning coach going to the playoffs was Larry Brown in 1982-83. I think that you have a situation here, having been the only person here that covered the original Memphis pro basketball team, that it requires more investigation. I don't think it's just what happened on the court.
Certainly doesn't seem like it. There's not a lot of reporting out there right now. But Kevin Blackistone, how do you hear the news coming down from Memphis today?
Troubling, because of everything everybody said where this team was headed. Not only that, you got a guy in Jaren Jackson Jr. having a fabulous year. John Moran has missed some games in this losing kind of stretch that they've had, 8 of the last 19 games. So something is just amiss here, and I hate to see it happen to a franchise that was really one of the ones that everybody wanted to see this year.
Yeah, this
exciting.
team is 44-29, regardless of what you think about their playoff viability, whether they can beat good teams. Kevin Clark, the timing of it is just awful, and something does not smell right about this in Memphis. How do you read the news that came out today?
Yeah, I'm selling this hard. Woody was right. Larry Brown was the last guy 42 years ago to leave a team in this situation, but he quit. He wasn't fired. He quit to take the Kansas job. So it's a completely different situation. No owner or GM has said you're out this late in the season for a team with a winning record like that. To me, there's only two options, guys. Either the locker room was as dysfunctional as any locker room in the history of the NBA, or this was a really, really stupid and rash decision. Ja Morant has missed 35% of the games in Taylor Jenkins' regime, okay? That's a lot. He's missed 6 straight. They are 16-14 without him this year, but this, to me, was rash. You were screwed with your stars out. I'm over it.
More questions than answers right now for the Memphis Grizzlies. As of tape time, we do not have a definitive reason as to why Taylor Jenkins was let go from the Memphis Grizzlies on Friday. We'll stick in the association for buy or sell too. Bulls-Lakers last night, one word, crazy. One night after LeBron James tipped in the game winner against the Pacers, this is how it finished for LA.
Put it into Vucevic, quick pass to Williams, big shot for 3, good. 2-point game, 9.8 left. Oh, loose ball, Giddey, the steal, right for the lead. Yeah! Here's Reeves. Reeves straight to the cup, lays it in to take the lead. Bulls are out of timeouts. 2 seconds left. Giddey for the win. Go!
47-foot buzzer beater sealing the deal for the Chicago Bulls. This might go down as the worst loss by any team this season, considering the Lakers led by as many as 18 in the fourth quarter. Kevin Clark, do you view this more as the Lakers losing the game or the Bulls winning it?
If you let miracles happen, that's on you. This one is on the Lakers. I was shocked by this. 44 fourth quarter points allowed. They've now lost 8 of 12. This is a pattern now. Most worrying for me, LeBron James, 1 of 13 from 3 since he returned from his injury. This is a struggling team right now that needs to stop allowing miracles.
Kevin Blackistone.
Oh, this is definitely on the Lakers. Not only that, it's on LeBron James. He all but admitted it after the game. A horrible inbounds throw, and then forgetting to get over to the corner to guard the 3. You don't lose games like this at this time of year.
Woody Page, you blaming the Lakers or are you crediting the Bulls?
I'm going to credit the Bulls. No good deed goes unpunished, and the Lakers had won a lucky game the night before. So I think it was a turn for the Bulls, and they're trying their best to solidify a spot about 5th to 6th in the Eastern Conference for the playoffs.
Yeah, trying to be in play-in territory. That's something that Bulls fans know all too well. Clinton Yates, you looking at the Chicago Bulls, giving them their props, or are you looking at LeBron on the other end of the tip-in winner that he had the other night, the other side of the pendulum swinging in the negative way for him?
I'm giving my props to Adam Amin on the telecast right there. That was an incredible call on that. But that was a schoolboy error from LeBron. I can hear my high school coach yelling at me now. You don't bounce past it there because you've got 3 defenders, both boundaries and the guy. That was an incredibly idiotic play right off the rip. I was stunned by that from a guy as smart as him from a basketball IQ standpoint.
All right, there's our second horn. No miracles today for Clinton Yates or for Kevin Blackistone. We got a tie coming up between the OG, Woody Page, and Kevin Clark. Showdown coming up next.
Around the Horn is brought to you by McDonald's.
Happy Deion Sanders payday. Coach Prime in Colorado agreeing to a 5-year contract extension that'll pay over $10 million annually. Woody, we know how these things work in college football, so over under 2.5 more years for Deion and the Bucs.
Good thing I'm in the showdown. I can tell you the truth here. He's going to be here for those 5 years. He loves Boulders. He's had such an influence on University of Colorado. Enrollment's up. Grades are up. The football program's up. And they just got the Sundance Film Festival in Boulder. He's going to be here.
I'm also taking the over. All the doubters, do you believe now? They said he was only doing it for attention. They said he was going to leave after his son stopped playing quarterback. He keeps signing new deals. He loves Boulder. He's all in.
All right, he's looking for 10 wins this season, coming off 9 in 2024, their most since 2016. We split the point, and we move on.
what?
The Pacers scored 162 points in a rout of the Wizards for their most points in an NBA game in franchise history. And get this, the final score could have been even more lopsided had Indiana not taken 3 shot clock violations in the last minute and a half. I guess sportsmanship, pass it on. Kevin Clark, is that a satisfying ending for you?
No, this was terrible. There's a reason the home fans were booing there, even though it was the other team. For me, this is more embarrassing than if they had tried to score. This is the NBA equivalent of playing the walk-ons, of playing the coach's net. It is ridiculous.
They didn't get it. They took the Wizards in 50 points. That's what they were booing for. That was great sportsmanship by the Pacers to hold it down and make sure it wasn't like an NBA All-Star game.
Great sportsmanship on Around the Horn. Is Kevin Clark doing 3 shows in 1 week? Third time's the charm, Casey. Take the FaceTime.
Are you?
Let's go.
No.
Shout out to the Chicago White Sox, who maybe will not be the worst team in MLB history this year. How do I know? Because they are in first place right now after a huge win over the Angels on opening day. They do not play today, so they will be in first place for 2 days. 6 scoreless innings from Sean Burke. The Angels are very bad. They might be the worst team in baseball, but to me, I love this White Sox team. Show some heart. First place, baby.
First place, White Sox. Tony's
Let's
back
nail
Monday.
this, Courtney.
I go
Let's
back
nail
in the
this.
wall.